welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick from the city of Hampton. And today we're going to talk about, I can't even describe it. There's two women who run a foundation and do the most amazing things to help the community and other nonprofits as well. Community Nights, and they are Jennifer Brown and Teresa Michener. Welcome back.
Thank you.
First, I want to talk about kind of how you started and what you've done so far in terms of helping other nonprofits raise money. You guys have raised how much now and given it away?
To date, we have awarded 552 grants to 140 unique public school and nonprofit organizations, and those are valued at $1,125,000.
I mean, come on. That is phenomenal. That's, way more than bake sale money. You guys are really good at this.
It's been a lot of hard work, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we have to give credit to our volunteers who come out from the community. That's about 65,850 volunteer hours that have come into doing that. And that's from our volunteers all over the Virginia Peninsula who have come together to work collaboratively to benefit all of our public schools and nonprofits that serve the Virginia Peninsula.
This started because as moms, partly at least, you really saw the need to help schools, not necessarily the core part of schools, but the auxiliary things that schools do that aren't really particularly well funded, shall we say.
Absolutely, yes. All the things that keep the kids in school, that keep them engaged. So the baseball team, the soccer team, the track team, robotics teams, that kind of thing that aren't getting the funding. So those are the kinds of groups that come in and put in grant applications and that we award grants to quarterly.
Yeah, and it all comes out of the recession in 2008. There's still a myth that people think now that the economy is so robust and has rebounded that our schools are back to full funding. And what they don't realize is in Virginia, at the state level, we're ranking about 40th in the nation for what's happening with school funding. So our schools haven't recovered.
I do want to give the state some credit. They have picked up from when it hit bottom.
They have.
But they have not gotten back to the level of funding, much less what inflation would make the funding had it continued, where it was.
Exactly.
It's a very, very tough situation.
So our schools did exactly what they had to do, which is they put their funding back into core instruction, and they had to kind of pull back. And we really started at the recession point when everybody was cutting back. So not only were the schools hurting, but our nonprofits were hurting because their corporate donors and everyone else.
And individuals, people were getting laid off, housing values had dropped, no one was getting raises. It was a very, very tough time.
It was, and what was happening too is our nonprofits had more people to serve with less resources.
Yes, absolutely. So you guys jumped in, you formed Community Nights, which we should spell.
Yes, it's Nights with a K.
Right.
Yes. So,
to the rescue.
To the rescue. People were coming asking us, Jennifer and I are very good at fundraising, and people know that, so they came to us and said, can we do this fundraiser? And our fundraiser is a bingo game. So they're like, can we do this? And we're like, looking at them going, you're not large enough, you don't have enough people, volunteers to do it over the long term. So we sat down and it's like, this is something we need to do. So we decided to pull volunteers from all these different organizations to help raise the money and then to give out grants every quarter to different nonprofits and public school groups that need the money.
And so it truly is a community thing because you rely on those volunteers to help. You've got the organization part.
Exactly.
But you need them to help you, to help them, to help each other.
Right. It takes about 25 to 30 volunteers every session, and we run 2 sessions a week. So it's about 60 volunteers every week that come together to help us raise the money for all the different organizations on the peninsula.
And it's truly community-based volunteers. I mean, we have people coming who aren't affiliated with any of the organizations who get grants. And I'd say it's about half of the people who come at this point really aren't affiliated with any of the impacted organizations. So it really is a community effort, and we're just so proud of the citizens of the Virginia Peninsula and what they do.
And I suspect they're doing it to help the community, but I also think it might be a little social, might be a little fun, right?
Oh, we have a ball. We have such a good time. So it is, and I mean, and even our players, it's a wonderful community of people, and everybody knows how much they're giving back, and you can see the impact of it. And if you go to our website at communitynights.org, you can see the stories of the impact of what these grants have done.
But you're here really to talk about something else. I just can't resist still talking about that because to me it is amazing.
Oh,
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
But you've branched out to do other things. You're also working with nonprofits to help them become better, be more efficient, do more training. And now you're launching a new effort.
Yes, we're very excited. We're calling it our coach program. And what we're doing is trying to increase access to volunteers, because just as we are driven by volunteers, every nonprofit relies so heavily on their volunteers, and everybody's always looking for volunteers. And we have discovered an untapped volunteer pool, which is our individuals, our citizens who have developmental and intellectual disabilities. So what we're able to do is, or what we're hoping to do is recruit people to come and get training as job coaches. And what job coaches do is basically provide that extra level of training to enable somebody to do the same things you and I do. So individuals who have intellectual and developmental disabilities will be able to volunteer in our nonprofit sector doing things that they're very passionate about, just like you and I. They just need a little extra help doing that. So we are actively recruiting right now, both individuals with disabilities who are hoping to volunteer out in the community and individuals who'd like to get training to help them do that. And so this is our new program.
So, okay, suppose I, run a nonprofit and I think, no, what I do is too complicated. Like, I don't know what somebody could do. What are some examples? I mean, maybe I've not been exposed to people with intellectual disabilities and I don't really understand what they could do or how I could restructure my operation to create those opportunities.
Really, there's not a lot of restructuring that has to go on. It really comes down to the training, and that's where the job coaches will come in. We have brought on board Rita White, who is the retired transition specialist from Hampton City Schools. And so each individual who has a disability is just like you and I. We're all different. We bring different skill sets to the table. But there's really not a job that I can think of at a nonprofit that you would have a volunteer do that an individual with a disability couldn't do. It all comes down to somebody being able to break that into small pieces and putting a couple accommodations in place, which is something we would do, that would enable them to be able to do it. So they just need that little extra bit of training and that little help, and they can generally get that stuff on board. And we'll work with you to make sure the matches are correct for your organization.
You're doing all the work.
Well, that's our job. I mean, that's really what is making it accessible, is really what it comes down to. And making sure that we make the right matches, and it's finding the right passion. So my daughter has autism and an intellectual disability, so I'm very familiar with this world. And so I can tell you my daughter is extroverted and she loves working with animals. So trying to put her in a volunteer position where she would be doing office type work, well, that's not something she would want to do, so that just wouldn't be a good fit. But I can tell you that probably wouldn't be a good fit for me as a volunteer either, because I share a lot of those personality traits with my daughter, so I wouldn't choose that as a volunteer opportunity. So a lot of it just comes down to making the right choices and fits. And my daughter's currently volunteering over at Bluebird Gap Farm. Her older sister is acting in that job coaching position. So what she's doing is working with Bluebird Gap Farm staff, and they'll train her on how to do that. Then she breaks that task down into smaller pieces, and she's trained her sister. And once she's got that down, we can just drop Brittany off, and she's able to do that volunteer work on her own. And Cassie will volunteer in another part of the park. So, and then when she needs assistance to learn something new, Cassie comes back and teaches her something else. So she works in the hen house, changing all of the water and feeding. She preps food for the animals. She does everything a normal volunteer would do. She just needs a little extra help to get there.
That is really interesting and cool. I love it. So how many people are there out there that you need to reach? I mean, people who would have the time and ability to do this, how do you find them?
Well, right now we're looking at a couple different places. We're looking at college campuses as one of the places where we're trying to recruit volunteers. because we really like the idea of having peer-to-peer. But also, if retirement,
Yeah.
teachers.
Retired teachers, yeah, because working teachers don't have much spare time.
No, they do not. Although I've been surprised, we've had some teachers who are currently teaching come and sign up, very excited about the program.
So does the job coach need to be consistently stay a volunteer, or do they sort of get somebody on track and then they can, could I volunteer for the summer, like I'm thinking of teachers,
Right.
Kind of volunteer for the summer, get somebody on track and maybe not continue to be needed consistently? Or do we even know yet? Does it depend on?
It would depend on the situation. We're definitely building teams of volunteer coaches around the individual so
Okay.
that there's some flexibility there. But no, we're developing this program right now, so we're working some of those details out. But I have a funny feeling, because we want you to volunteer in a place you're passionate about. So when we do those matches, I have a funny feeling you're going to want to stick to volunteering at that organization. You might not be volunteering specifically in a support capacity, because once you master those skills, I can tell you, I know my daughter wants to be independent as quickly as possible, because she wants to be just like everybody else volunteering on the site. So she lets you know when she's good. She's like, I got this now.
That is so cool. What do you think, can you even quantify the need for volunteers out there in the nonprofits in the Hampton, Newport News general area?
That's a good question. What I can tell you is, for those that we work with in the gift program that we have talked to about this, they've all just looked at us and said, yes, sign us up.
Yep.
Put me on the list.
Put us on the list. We need
absolutely.
help. As we've been fleshing out the need for this program, we have not quantified that in numbers. That's something that we'll be working on getting the statistics for. But everybody has told us, oh my gosh, please, we need to do this. And they've been very enthusiastic about participating in the program.
So the demand is there from the organizations.
Right.
And you can identify potentially some of the individuals with the disabilities through the schools, through people who've recently graduated.
The school systems and DARS, which is one of the core agencies within our government.
What's DARS?
DARS is the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services.
Okay.
So that's one of the agencies that matches job coaches with individuals with disabilities who are looking for competitive employment. So
there are
out job
programs,
searches.
state or federally funded programs that help people find jobs and get them through the
Correct.
training thing. But you're filling this gap because there's nothing that helps them find volunteer work. Volunteer
Correct.
work can lead to a job.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that has been listed to us as a problem from individuals within DARS and from the school systems is, while individuals, when they transition out of school and they're looking for employment, they don't have an awful lot of opportunities of things to do in an inclusive manner within the community. So this would be filling a huge need while they're out doing their job searches. They're looking for other ways to engage within the community, and they need some supports to do that. And those supports right now just haven't been developed and implemented. So this would be filling that service gap that's needed.
Well, it's true for everybody. Getting the first job is the hardest thing, because an employer is not going to take a chance if they don't have to. But if you have a track record that says, I can show up, I can learn to do tasks, I can take direction, and I'm consistent over a period of time, then you stand out above everybody else. And that usually takes a volunteer or that first part-time job. So, they're going to have a leg up from doing this. And they're going to have fun because they're going to be matched somewhere that's doing something they want to do. And like you said, your daughter has a paying job, but she's going to keep the volunteer thing.
Yeah,
she's going to continue to be part of the community and give back.
Exactly.
Of course, she's your daughter, and I would expect that you've helped train her.
Trained her up right.
Yes. No, community service has always been a core part of our family's ethos. But yeah, she wouldn't give up her volunteer gig for anything. Wherever she works, she's going to make sure there is time for her to go out and volunteer, because she's very passionate about where she is volunteering. And we want to instill community service in all of our young people. So, and all means all. So this is an opportunity to get out in the community and just really engage.
So if people are hearing this, what does being a job coach or volunteer coach, whatever you're calling it, what does that entail? How do I know if I might be qualified, or how do I get more information?
To get more information, go to our website and look for the coach program. And there's a form you can fill out that just says, hey, I want to volunteer. Please put me on the list and give me more information. What we're going to do, you don't have to have any specialized training to do this, just other than a desire to do so. You will have to go through a background check, but we will
Good.
pay for that.
Oh, fabulous.
So you don't have to pay for, that's not something you have to pay for, but do anticipate that. And then we will provide 8 hours of training for you. And what you're going to learn how to do is basically break down tasks. So we're going to teach you what you need to know and how to do that. We're also going to put you through some ethics training on just what's appropriate, when it's appropriate to step in, when it's appropriate to back off. You're also always going to have mentor support. So we're going to have a team of experienced people that you can always call on, that are going to be checking in and making sure everything's going well. We're going to give you a couple of tests to just make sure we've got personality matches as well, because we want to put you with somebody who has the same temperament as you and that make sure everything's a good fit. And you're going to be working on a team, so you're not going to be the only person who's working. So you're going to have this just great team of people you'll be put on who have a shared passion and who all kind of have the same temperament and who we think is going to work really well together. So we're really excited as we're building this up and putting it together.
I'm excited and I'm not even involved. This is so cool.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, is there anything I should be asking you about that I haven't asked you?
Well, we're looking for corporate sponsors for
yes.
the program, and we're also looking for just funding to get it up and running because we have background checks that we need to be paying for
Those are
and training
pricey too, yeah.
and training materials.
And depending on where you're placing people, the volunteers have to have background checks
Correct,
as well.
and we will be covering those expenses. And the other expense will be potentially transportation, because some of our individuals with disabilities, transportation is an issue and a barrier for them being able to participate in our community, and we want to be able to make sure we can help them with that as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're interested in helping us get this program up and running, we always accept donations as well.
Okay. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
What a great idea. You
Oh,
guys are
thank you.
just really finding gaps and filling them.
That's our mission.
That is our mission.
Effectively.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you will consider donating time or money to help this effort, because these ladies are improving our community out there every day in little ways, in $1.1 million ways, in all kinds of ways. So please support them if you can. Thanks for watching.